Man, I don't know how a Christian can read Deuteronomy 22, verse 28, and still believe their God is moral. This verse is condoning rape.
Oh yeah?
Yep, it says, if a man happens to meet a virgin who is not pledged to be married and rapes her, and they are discovered, he shall pay her father 50 shekels of silver. He must marry the young woman for he has violated her. He can never divorce her as long as he lives.
Okay, so that sounds like the NIV that you're reading, right?
Yeah, why's that matter?
Because that translation isn't accurate for this verse. For example, here's the same two verses from the NASB. It says, if a man finds a girl who is a virgin, who is not betrothed, and he seizes her and has sexual relations with her, and they are discovered, then the man who has sexual relations with her shall give the girl's father 50 shekels of silver, and shall become his wife. Because he has violated her, he is not allowed to divorce her all of his days. So first of all, notice this translation is acknowledging that this wasn't rape.
But come on, it still says she was seized.
Yes, the Hebrew word here is tapas, which means takes or catches, which is a much weaker verb than forces.
So what's your point?
Well, the point is what's actually being legislated here. Several verses back, we're given two other scenarios. The first one is what's to happen as punishment for adultery between two consenting adults, a man and a woman who's engaged. And the second one was legislating what's to happen for a forcible rape of a woman who's engaged.
Okay.
But this third scenario is what captures people's attention because of that mistranslation. They're not aware that the theme of all these scenarios are to do with the well-being of the woman.
Well...
Also, check this out. These verses in question, according to various scholars, is an extension to Exodus 22, verse 16 and 17.
Which says?
It says if a man seduces a virgin who is not engaged and lies with her, he must pay a dowry for her to be his wife. If her father absolutely refuses to give her to him, he shall pay money equal to the dowry for virgins. So what we have here in Deuteronomy is legislation for adultery, rape, and fornication. This last scenario isn't talking about rape, but rather a situation where a man seduces a woman and she doesn't resist. The verse says, and they are discovered, not he is discovered.
Okay.
Since the woman is complicit despite any pressure or seduction, this wasn't classified as forcible rape. Remember, these are hypotheticals used in legislation that guided judges' decisions when these issues would arise. So they needed to know when the death penalty qualified and when it didn't. We already know from the previous verses when that did apply.
But what about this forcing of marriage on this poor girl?
Well, you need to get out of your head that this was a forcible rape, because it wasn't.
Okay.
Despite the man and the woman both being guilty, the man carried the weight of the responsibility. But notice that both verses, Exodus 22:16 and this one in Deuteronomy, they suggest two courses of action.
Which are?
One, if the father and daughter approve, this man that seduces her has to marry her and provide for her her entire life, without the possibility of divorce. The father, in conjunction with the daughter, has the final say. The girl isn't required to marry this man.
Okay.
Two, the girl's father, her legal point person, has the right to refuse this permanent arrangement as well as the right to demand the bride price, even though the seducer doesn't marry his daughter, since she has been sexually compromised. Marriage to another man would be difficult if not impossible. The girl has to agree with this arrangement, and she isn't obligated to marry the seducer. In this arrangement, she is still treated as a virgin.
Okay, well, what about this whole bride price thing? It may not have been a rape case here, but she's still treated like chattel.
Right. A bride price was common and is still in use today in many countries around the world. It is also known as a dowry, which is a gift from the man to the family of the girl he wants to marry. It's an act of deep commitment, not an insult or degradation to the woman, but a compliment, saying, I love this woman so much, I'm willing to put my blood, sweat, and tears to my commitment. So to wrap this up, yep, old translations got this one wrong, but that's the value in gaining more insight. We've acquired many more ancient manuscripts since the publishing of the King James Bible in 1611, and as we learn more and more, the more accurate our Bibles become.